Hello again. Welcome back to It's Simple Really, a podcast where we take a look at some of the notions many of us hold to be true and put them to the test. How many of you want to win the lottery? Honestly now. I know I've subscribed to the OLG site and I'm paying, I don't know, $20 a week for my chances. I think I won a free ticket in last night's draw. Anyway, what about you, Vadim? Do you dream of winning the lottery?
Sure. I will say yes. And I also subscribe. No, I don't subscribe, but I pay OLG quite frequently to get. And for anyone who doesn't know what OLG is, this is the Lottery and Gaming Commission in Ontario, where Greg and I reside. But why do you bring this up?
Well, I wanted to share my thoughts on the topic and really thinking about, does the lottery really make you happy? Is that really the secret to happiness? You have to win the lottery in order to be happy.
It's interesting. It's kind of so studies say no. They say that winning the lottery or losing everything in bankruptcy in a matter of months, sometimes maybe a year at most, results in feeling the same. If you felt crappy before, you'll feel crappy again. You felt happy before, you'll still be happy. But at the same time, I would expand this. It's kind of like, do expensive things make you happy? I know I'm a big fan of vehicles, cars specifically. And I would love to have something like, I don't know, maybe a Bentley Continental GT, the latest one with all the bells and whistles. And some other folks might want to have Tesla Plaid or a latest Ferrari. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Expensive things, because people look at you differently. I mean, come on, Greg, you have to admit, look at the world of YouTube, TikTok, or any other video platforms. You have guys and girls who are standing in front of posh mansions, like expensive vehicles, helicopters even, heaven's sake, all looking spectacular, expensive. And we aspire to that. A lot of people aspire to that. We look at them and say, hey, I want to be just like them. In fact, I mean, here's a prime example. When you and I started down an entrepreneurial journey and we watched a lot of videos and people were teaching, or I'm using air quotes, maybe teaching is a bit of a strong word, but relaying their knowledge, let's put it this way. And most of them, at the beginning of their pitch, always used a scenario of something like, well, if you follow my guidance, then you're bound to make $10,000 a month. If you follow this plan, then $100,000 a month is within your reach. Forget that. Follow me on this journey, and $1 million a month is in your pocket. And all of those things are supposed to appeal to your materialistic beliefs that expensive things matter. True?
True.
Yeah. And I come from a culture. I'm from Moscow, Russia. And Moscow, Russia is a place where materialistic goods are elevated to the highest point possible. There is an old adage about something, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, I can tell you one thing for sure. In Moscow, you are that book and you are judged by its cover. There are certain things like, well, look at you in your poor old Honda. It might be a brand new Honda, the latest one, the top of the line, like but sorry, it's a Honda. It's not really a BMW or a Porsche. I can't hang out with you. That is serious. The way your kids address to school, what kind of brand names that is on a 5-year-old matters to people.
Yeah.
And then people believe that expensive things and money specifically makes them happy. So to answer your question, yeah, it looks like people hold that very dear. Now, do you agree with that?
No, I think it's 100% true that people hold that near and dear and think that it's true. And I also think it's 100% not true in reality. Um, it's funny when you're mentioning like the people on TV in front of mansions and stuff.
Yep.
Images popped into my head of like, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or all these shows where all these people presumably have, millions of dollars to frivolously waste on stupid stuff. And you look at these people and go, these are a bunch of clowns. Like, and they're miserable too at the same time. So
that's true.
It's money's great for a lot of things, but it can make things easy. But I definitely don't think it buys happiness for sure.
Probably true, but does it buy success? I mean, again, if we take a cue from social media, which is by all measures is a terrible yardstick, terrible. But if we take a cue from social media, there are always these stories about some celebrity living not a lavish lifestyle, but a very conservative lifestyle and spending money on good causes. Depends on what you consider to be good, but usually that, and we appreciate that. But we know that the person is well off. And then you say like, yeah, see, this is a successful person. So
well, it all depends on your definition of success, I suppose. It's funny because I was thinking about this the other day, which was, two of the wealthiest people on the planet, Bezos and Bill Gates, have both in the, one more recently than the other, I think, but in the last couple of years have both gotten divorced.
That's true.
So, if success, if your definition of success somewhere equals a good marriage, a lifelong marriage, and good family life, and all the rest, then there's two examples of billionaires who couldn't make it work. And now, of course, because they got divorced, now there's 4 billionaires because their wives are also billionaires now.
Yeah, so it's but if I think about it, one of the if it's not a measurement of success, although it is, I mean, it's hard to imagine anyone in society would disagree with that. If it's not a measurement of happiness, then one thing that money, wealth, and expensive things is a test, or at least I would like to believe it's a test. I've heard you brought up two characters in the world that we know that from the outside, I mean, honestly, neither you nor I know anything about those two people or those 4 people that you mentioned. We don't know if they're happy. We don't know how it happened. We don't know what's behind it. There's some speculation this might be done for tax optimization reasons. It does not matter. But
certainly getting divorced can make some people happy. If you're in a miserable marriage,
yeah, that's true.
Getting divorced might be the best thing that ever happened. So,
but it is a test. It is a test because I sometimes wonder. So I bought the lottery ticket. Okay, and this Friday, this is the Friday. It's always this Friday. I will win. Question is, how in the world am I going to handle that winning? Like I would imagine it wouldn't change me a bit. I probably wouldn't go out and buy a house, but I would buy myself something very nice, probably that car I wanted. And then I start thinking about, okay, so I've got this money, I don't have to work, and that makes me, if the word free means anything, but it certainly doesn't stimulate any activity. Both you and I both know that when you're not when you don't have a stable income, a lot of ideas pop in your head that you're willing to follow.
Yeah.
What if you had all the money that you needed? Would any of that make you want to get up in the morning and do the stuff that you do today?
I don't know. I mean, I always thought if I won like tens of millions of dollars that I would go golfing every day. I would like take, a group of my buddies and we travel the world and golf. I don't know, like all kinds of things. But at the same time, it's funny you said the word freedom. Like I feel like the last year of my life, I've been more free than I've ever been. Like I literally do what I want to do when I want to do it. I certainly don't have all the money in the world, but I've kind of decided that I have enough money in the world, aka equity in my home, to give me the freedom to do whatever I want to do for a period of time. So I may not be a millionaire, but I'm kind of acting like a millionaire in some respects.
Yeah.
So
it's funny.
It's
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, because it's we all have. I think a lot of people. What I want to say is, you mentioned that it doesn't buy happiness, like money doesn't buy happiness, and I agree with that. And I think it might be because of our short-term thinking. Like you said you would go golfing, you would take your buddies golfing, and if we were sitting in let's say a therapy session, I would say, well, Greg, tell me, what happens after 3 months of endless golfing? What then? What happens?
I have no idea.
You've golfed. You've golfed on every single golf course, under every single weather conditions, with every single partner you can find. Let's say it took you a year. Maybe it took you 2 years. What then?
Yeah.
And then people stop to think about that, and all of a sudden realize it's like, okay, how many cars can I buy? 5, 10, 20. I'll change a car every 6 months. Always have the latest one. Okay. After 5 years, you amassed a massive junkyard of very expensive cars that you don't even have the capacity to drive yourself because there are too many of them. Now what?
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So when you start asking those questions and you look at them, and they all seem silly because they don't have really good answers, because you start then getting into that mentality of a very, very rich person, where you're trying to satisfy the next craze, the next stupidity, the next
I think we're seeing that next level play out right now with the space race, right?
That's true.
There was just another
William
trip today, I think,
William
with
Shatner?
William Shatner. Yeah. So
it's that kind of, and it's that kind of mentality, but it's more so pleasing. It feels like it's more so pleasing your senses and catering to your ego, rather than, I don't know, going to space is pretty awesome, it seems. Although every time they go to every time those rocket takes off and goes 10 kilometers, 13 kilometers into the orbit, and then comes back, and everyone's like, oh my God, it came back. Yeah. I can't help but thinking that they faked moon landing because just like the guy went up, came down, and he's safe. And we consider that to be a good space flight. According to history, in the 60s, we used to go to the moon like a bus would go to, like, make a run.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a sidebar, but it's
well, that was I think it was the Virgin flight that went. They weren't in the orbit high enough.
Yeah, that Virgin flight. So that didn't count.
Well, I don't know. That was the speculate that they weren't actually technically in space because they weren't high enough. So I don't know. It was like, now, I mean, it's just another measuring contest between billionaires, right?
Yeah. And judging by what they're launching, that's exactly what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Whoever designed those things.
Yeah, they had a sense of humor. Yeah. So in other words, to kind of summarize everything we've been talking about, on the one hand, no, money doesn't make you happy and probably does not make you successful. The challenge with our society is that it perceives money as a clear indicator of success. It's true. I had this arguments with many people, and at the end, even though you might despise the notion that money is of any value, it still is a great signal for society.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, the wet blanket to throw on the whole thing is, it's like, it only matters if you care what other people think. Well, it's a status symbol to be admired or interpreted by other people, right? So if you don't care what other people think, then it becomes irrelevant.
True.
It's,
How many
it's
people?
like,
How many people do you know that do not care what other people think?
every day I'm meeting more and more, believe it or not. But it's kind of I was thinking about this the other day too, like watching TV shows like The Voice or Dancing with the Stars, where, they have the panel of judges, and it's like, your goal is to impress these random experts, and your worthiness and value as a human being is in their hands. It's like, what a load of crap, right? Like, you don't need votes from an audience or votes from a judge or any of that stuff. We all have innate worth and value, and all that stuff doesn't mean anything. It only means something if you let it mean something.
Yeah.
So,
It's unfortunate that most of the time we realize these things when we're over the age of 40.
yeah. Well,
so to conclude your question, would I want to win the lottery? Yes, I would. I confess. Will it make me happy? I don't know. But if I go by stats, it's not going to change my opinion of myself, of my life in the long run.
well, you said earlier they did the studies, and if you're happy before, then you'd get happy after.
Yeah.
So I can definitively say if I win the lottery, I'd still be happy.
Well, let's just hope I win it first. Not to say that I'm sad, but I'll be just as happy as I am today.
Well, best of luck.
Thank you, Greg. And
right.
Everyone, we'll see you next week when we take another interesting subject and see what Greg and I think about it.
Thanks. See you then.